Hi everyone, welcome to Primrose and Pearl Bath Products. My name is Melinda and I'm the creator at Primrose and Pearl. Today I'm making the last of the videos for the soaps in the Feelings collection. Now it's not the last soap in the collection, it's just the last video that I had made. And today we are talking about the character Anger. Now the Feelings collection was inspired by the movie Inside Out or Inside Out 2. Previous videos I did a core memory soap and I also did joy and sadness. But today Anger gets the spotlight. Now I love Anger as a character because I feel like it really embodies the internal monologue that everybody has and just that little bit of raginess that they get sometimes. Maybe that's just me when I try to control my road rage. But anyway, I digress. First, what I'm doing is mixing in a small amount of lye water solution into a small amount of my melted butters and oils. I'm doing this as a layered soap, and I wanted to make sure that the first layer really had time to set. So I'm just mixing in very small amounts for this first layer. Now that I have everything measured together, I'm going to go ahead and stick blend it and make sure that it all emulsifies together. This doesn't take long, again, because it is just a very small amount. Now, full disclosure, this is actually my second time making this soap. The first time I made this soap, everything came out horribly, horribly wrong. The red I used did not turn out a very vibrant red, so I reached out to my fellow soapers on Facebook, and they told me I have to use Trial by Fire, so I switched to Trial by Fire. The fragrance oil I used, I had never used before, and there weren't fragrance notes on it, and it turned the entire soap a very awkward brown tinge, and that just didn't work for what I was going for in the soap. I needed red, vibrant red, because Anger is very vibrantly red. So, first layer going in, and it has thickened up, which I do not mind because the first layer is a sculpted layer. I'm scraping my container, making sure I get all of my soap batter in because I am not going to be returning to this color. My next step is to go ahead and scrape the bottom layer to get the shape I wanted. I want it to have that V shape like you see at the top of Anger's head. So I went on to Tinkercad and designed a little soap scraper and printed it on my 3D printer. I am by no means an expert on doing anything like that, but it happened to work out for me this time, and I'm so glad it did because I don't think this would have registered as Anger if I didn't have that little V shape, like I said, at the top of his head before the little flames come out. So I'm scraping little by little. If you go ahead and scrape and then try and get all of it out, you end up with a sloppy mess. So I went in, kind of scraped out a little bit and then scraped out a little bit more until I got to the depth that I wanted. Now that my red has completely set, I'm going in with just a thin layer of batter. Now I know it looks yellow in the video, but once it saponifies, it turns to more of an off-white color, and I wanted to have that little bit of separation of the off-white, because if you look at pictures of the character Anger, you can see he does have that little bit of off-white delineation between like the top of his head and like where the flames would be shooting out. Now that I have that set, I'm going into the fire portion of my soap. So I'm taking my soap batter and I'm dividing it into 3 equal-ish portions, which I'm going to end up coloring in 3 different colors to represent the flame coming out of his head. So the colors I chose are obviously fire colors. They're going to be yellow, which is Firefly Yellow by Nurture Soap. A little bit of that goes in, and I'm going to mix that up. The next color I have is Pumpkinhead from Mad Micas. This is going to be the orange portion of my soap. So again, just a little bit because they are small portions of soap. And finally, I have from Nurture Soap Candy Apple Red. Now I wanted to go with a different red than the main part to have, again, that differentiation between like the character and then the flame part. So now that I have all my micas in, I'm going to whisk them each by hand and That way I can make any adjustments to the color if I need to before my soap batter gets too thick. I like to do it with a whisk. I find if I am not suspending the micas in oil, it's harder to blend them in with just a spatula or a scraper. So that's when I would go in with the whisk when I'm just putting the straight up mica powder into my soap batter. Once I get all of my colors incorporated into my soap batter, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of my fragrance into each one. And then once I have my fragrance in, you can see I'm going in for the pour. Now, I'm kind of doing it in layers, but not really doing it in layers. I wanted to make sure I got the look of flames, and the way that I did that was I put in a little bit of each color, starting with the yellow and then the orange, kind of layering those, and then going in with the red. And then I go ahead and at one point take my hanger tool and try and swirl it as carefully as I can without poking through to that bottom layer, which you'll see later on in the video. Now, we saw, and by we, I mean me and my husband and my two girls, we saw the new Inside Out 2 movie, I think it's about 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and I still don't know how I feel about it. Part of me feels like anxiety was really made to be a villain, but then, and I don't want to give out too many spoilers, but there's a scene where it kind of all culminates toward the end of the movie, and being a person with anxiety, like, it really resonated with me, and I thought that the animators and the writers did such a good job of portraying what it can really feel like to be trapped in that anxiety mode. So I don't know, I feel like I'll have to watch it a couple more times and kind of process more, or I'm not sure. I don't know. I just had like such mixed feelings about it, and I would love to hear how other people were feeling about the Inside Out 2 movie, and specifically the character anxiety. I feel like it's one of those things in society that is just not talked about enough. I wish it was, you know. Again, being somebody that has struggled with it, you kind of do feel that stigma and feel like you're alone and nobody else feels like that. Anyway, that was a total aside. So here I am at the end of my soap, and I am texturing the top because I do want it to have kind of that flame look where it comes to a point at the top. So I just take a regular old spoon and I'm adding some texture and also kind of pushing the soap up into the middle to kind of get that point that I want it to have. And then I didn't love how some of it looked, so I'm just, futzing with it at this point. Okay, one other quick aside. So Riley in the movie Inside Out 2, she gets all these new emotions, right? But then I feel like they kind of show some of these new emotions in some of these characters toward the end, but it does make you wonder, where have these other emotions been for all the other characters in the movie? Like the adults in her life, they don't have some of those emotions? It's interesting. I don't know. All right, so next day, cutting the soap. Here is the very first slice. So you can see at the bottom, it's like Anger's head, and then you have the flame at the top. Here's the other side. It really came out exactly the way I envisioned it coming out. Like I said, it was my second go around, so, maybe I cheated a little bit, but I think it came out really embodying the character perfectly. I would love to hear what you think of the soap, of the character Anger, of the movie Inside Out or Inside Out 2, just anything you want to chat about. Go ahead and drop it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.